Welcome back to another episode of What If Naruto Had a Big Brother? In this alternate Naruto universe, one small twist changes everything. What if Naruto wasn't alone? What if he grew up with someone stronger, smarter, and born to rewrite destiny itself? Today, we dive deeper into the story of Kaito Uzumaki, Naruto's powerful older brother whose existence shakes the entire Shinobi world. New alliances form, new enemies rise, and the future of Konoha may never be the same again. So sit back, relax, and get ready, because this episode is about to change everything. Minato's heart lurched. No, I haven't finished here. Not yet. He gritted his teeth. I must hurry. As Team Kakashi reached a narrow mountain pass, the wind suddenly died. Obito froze. Kakashi. Rin. Something's wrong. Kakashi tensed. He felt it too. A killing intent stronger than anything they'd felt before. From behind a cluster of rocks, a deep voice echoed. Well. The three spun around. A masked stone jonin stepped forward, armor heavy, presence suffocating. I didn't expect children. Rin's breath caught. Obito stepped back. Kakashi drew a kunai but felt his injury twinge painfully. The stone jonin smirked. Let me guess, he sneered, you're the ones trying to destroy Shinobi Bridge. Kakashi didn't flinch. Yes. The man cracked his knuckles. Then I'll just kill you now. Obito trembled, but something inside him hardened. Kaito believed in me. Kaito said I wasn't alone. Before Kakashi could lash out, Obito stepped forward beside him. Kakashi, I'll fight with you. Kakashi blinked, surprised, then nodded. Rin gripped her medical pouch, fear swirling in her eyes. The stone jonin smiled cruelly. This will be quick. His chakra surged violently, cracking the ground beneath his feet. Kakashi inhaled sharply. This is bad. Obito swallowed hard. Just stay alive. Kaito told me I matter. So I will live. The stone jonin dashed forward. And the real battle began. As the hours drifted by, the living room slowly transformed into a battlefield of ink, paper, and determination. Scrolls lay scattered around me, covered in half-finished symbols, scrapped attempts, and a few promising seals that Kushina had marked with tiny red checkmarks. It was exhausting, but exhilarating. At first, my strokes were shaky, the symbols unbalanced, the lines too thick or too light. But gradually, very gradually, something inside me began to click. The brush felt lighter. My chakra more responsive. Each stroke carried intention instead of guesswork. Kushina watched with an approving glint in her eyes. You're getting it, Kaito-kun, she said softly. Hearing praise from her, one of the strongest sealing masters in Shinobi history, sent a surge of pride through me. I grinned, my hand steady as I finished another symbol. A small containment seal. My first proper one. Kushina leaned in, her vermilion hair brushing my arm as she inspected my work with the seriousness of a master craftsman. Not bad, she admitted with a smirk. Still rough, but definitely Uzumaki quality. I puffed up slightly. Really? Yes, really, she chuckled, flicking my forehead lightly. Don't let it go to your head, you know. I rubbed the spot she flicked and smiled bigger. Once I had mastered the basic strokes, Kushina moved on to deeper, more philosophical aspects of seals. Listen carefully, Kaito, she said, tapping the scroll. Other villages think fuinjutsu is just formulas, equations, symbols. She tapped her chest. But for the Uzumaki, fuinjutsu is soul work. Soul work? I echoed. Yes, she nodded seriously. A seal is a reflection of the one who created it. Your emotions, your intent, your resolve, they all seep into the ink. She drew a simple spiral on a scroll. This is the Uzumaki clan's sacred spiral. It looks simple, but it's the foundation for many advanced seals. Her voice softened with nostalgia. When I was your age, Mito-sama taught me this very spiral. She said the Uzumaki weren't feared because our seals were powerful, but because our hearts were. I paused, brush in hand. My heart? What would my seals reflect? Fear of the future? Determination to change fate? Gratitude for a new family? Hope? Kushina placed a hand on my shoulder. Don't worry. You'll find your own meaning soon enough. After hours of practice, Kushina declared, "All right, let's try activating a basic containment seal." My heart skipped. This was it. My first real Fuinjutsu activation. She unrolled a blank scroll and handed me a small wooden kunai, a training model. "Place this in the center of the seal," she instructed. I nodded and carefully placed the kunai onto the center symbol. "Now," Kushina said, folding her legs beneath her, "channel your chakra through your fingertips. Gently. Too much, and the seal will burn out." I inhaled deeply, placed my hand over the seal, closed my eyes, and let my chakra trickle out. Slowly, 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 the ink began to glow, just faintly at first. A soft red hue that matched my hair. Kushina's breath hitched, just barely noticeable. Good, Kaito-kun. A little more." The glow strengthened. The seals pulsed, shifted, locked into formation. Then, FWIP. The kunai vanished. The scroll gave off a satisfying, muted hum. I gasped. "Keikochin." It worked. She beamed at me, face glowing with pride. "Of course it did. You're my son, after all." Before I could celebrate further, she swept me up into a warm, crushing hug. "You did amazing," she said, spinning me slightly. "You activated a containment seal on your first day. Even Minato struggled with that." I laughed as she spun me around, her hair brushing against my face like ribbons of fire. For a moment, everything was perfect, peaceful, warm. But then, a jolt ran through my body, like a cold hand gripping my spine. My breath hitched. "Keikara-chan." Kushina stopped immediately. "What's wrong, Kaito-kun?" Her chakra flared protectively, but I wasn't looking at her. I was staring at the window, at the sky, at nothing, but everything. My heart raced, my vision blurred. Somewhere, far away, beyond the forests, beyond the border, I felt something. A violent spike of fear. A sharp twist of pain. A surge of desperate chakra. Obito's chakra. And Kakoshi's. And Rin's. It hit me like a wave. A crushing, suffocating wave. Kushina knelt beside me, gripping my shoulders. "Kaito, look at me. What are you feeling?" I trembled. "I don't know, it's like something terrible is happening." Kushina's expression hardened. She recognized the signs. "Kaito, your Uzumaki sensory ability, it's awakening." My breath trembled. "And no, it's not just that." A tear slid down my cheek. Someone is in danger. Thousands of kilometers away, deep in the mountains of the hidden grass. A scream tore through the battlefield. "Rin." Obito's voice cracked with horror. The exhausted shinobi gathered around Minato, their expressions a mixture of disbelief, awe, and overwhelming relief. Some collapsed to their knees, staring at the field of fallen enemies. Nearly 200 elite hidden stone shinobi wiped out in the span of seconds. "Why, you really did it," one whispered. Another let out a breathless, shaky laugh. "The yellow flash truly lives up to the rumors." But Minato only offered a humble smile as he caught his breath. "I'm just glad I arrived in time." He pressed a hand to his knee as he rose slowly. The truth was, that level of mass teleportation, more than 100 jumps back-to-back, had drained a significant portion of his chakra. His head throbbed slightly, and his skin felt faintly cold. Even for someone of Minato Namikaze's caliber, such a feat was no small burden. But there was no time to rest. A sudden sensation, subtle, sharp, urgent, throbbed in the back of his mind. A ripple of chakra. Small, fragile, but distinct. Kaito's chakra. Usually warm and steady. Now shaken. Fractured. Uneven. "Kaito." Minato whispered before he could stop himself. One of the resting shinobi looked over. "Lord Minato?" Minato quickly composed himself. It's nothing. I just need a moment. But inside his chest, worry churned. Why is his chakra fluctuating like that? Is he hurt? But no, there was no pain. No physical distress. It was something else. Something emotional. Fear? Shock? Overwhelming distress? Minato clenched his fists. Kushina, Kaito, are they okay? He inhaled deeply, trying to calm the storm inside him. He needed to return to Kushina. He needed to return to Kaito. He needed. A sudden explosion of chakra, this time from the opposite direction, ripped through his senses. Minato's eyes widened. Kakashi. Obito. Rin. A massive Earth-style detonation. Then a spike of killing intent. And behind it, a fear so intense it seemed to echo across the battlefield. Obito's chakra. Trembling. Panicked. Desperate. No, Minato whispered, voice tight. He turned sharply toward the distant mountains of the hidden grass. He could feel them. All three of them. Their signatures flaring wildly in the darkened forest. Something had gone wrong. Horribly wrong. Minato's face hardened, the warm smile fading into a cold, focused calm. He strode toward his scattered kunai. Lord Minato, one of the surviving shinobi, called out, "Shouldn't you rest? Your chakra." "There's no time," Minato cut in gently, but firmly. "My team is in danger." A yellow flash lit the battlefield. Then, he vanished. Rocks crashed down. Smoke filled the cavern. The enemy's laughter echoed through the stone passage. Rin screamed as she was seized by two hidden stone jonin. Obito, covered in cuts and dirt, struggled against falling debris. "No, Rin." Kakashi coughed violently, his arm still wounded from earlier. Blood stained his jonin vest, but he staggered forward anyway. "Stay back, Kakashi Hatoki," the IWA captain sneered. "The girl stays with us. She's our leverage to make your mission fail." Obito roared, "Let her go." But the ground shook. The cavern walls cracked. And the ceiling began to collapse. Kakashi turned sharply toward Obito, just a split second, before a massive boulder crashed between them, splitting the cavern in two. "Abitu!" Kakashi shouted as dust billowed upward. But on the other side, Obito saw something that froze his blood. A spear of earth was hurtling straight toward Kakashi's blind spot. "Kakashi, move." Kakashi turned. Too slow. Obito's eyes widened. Something primal awakened inside him. A swirl of burning chakra ignited in his vision. And then, the Sharingan opened. Suddenly, my eyes snapped open. My breath hitched as a crushing, suffocating pain pressed against my chest. "Kaito!" Kushina shouted, grabbing me. "What's happening? What do you feel?" I clutched my shirt. It's Obito." My voice quivered. "Karchan. Something terrible is happening." Kushina froze, eyes widening. "You sensed them from this far?" I nodded, trembling. "Obito's chakra, it's changing. It's like something awakened." A tear rolled down my cheek. "And Kakashi. He's hurt. Badly. And Rin is being taken." Kushina's blood ran cold. "Kaito, are you sure?" I whispered, voice cracking. "Obito's heart. It feels like it's breaking." My stomach twisted. Everything I feared was happening. It was starting. The event that would create the masked man. The event that would kill Rin. The event that would someday kill my parents. Kushina hugged me tightly. "Kaito, stay with me. Focus on my voice. Inhale, exhale." Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. Then, a violent surge of chakra erupted from me. A golden-red explosion of pure Uzumaki vitality. Kushina gasped, stumbling back as chains of chakra burst from my spine, thin, flickering, unstable. The living room shuddered. Several ANBU miles away lifted their heads at once. Hiruzen Sarutobi, in his office, felt a sudden spike, an Uzumaki spike. What was that? Minato landed in the hidden grass mountains in a flash, kunai embedded in a tree root from his earlier preparations. He sensed the battlefield instantly. Obito's chakra, wild and spiraling. Rin's chakra, distant and restrained. Kakashi's chakra, faint, weak, bleeding. Minato's heart dropped. No. He vanished again. Another flash. Then another. Desperation pushed him faster than ever before. "Hold on," he whispered. His voice trembled with fear, true fear. "Hold on, all of you. I'm coming." The news of Obito's death spread through Konoha like a cold wind. The villagers mourned a lost prodigy of the Uchiha. The shinobi whispered quietly, whispers that clung to the air like fog. A hero had died protecting his comrades. Kakashi had awakened the Sharingan. Minato had earned yet another victory that pushed the hidden stone into retreat. But behind these whispers was an unspoken grief. Obito was gone. And I knew the truth. He wasn't just gone. He had been taken, reforged, twisted. And worst of all, the masked man's path had begun. When Minato and his fractured team returned to the village, I stood beside Kushina, waiting eagerly. The first thing I saw was Minato. The second was Rin's tear-stained cheeks. The third was Kakashi, silent, shoulders heavy, a dullness in his eye that made him look older than his years. And then, there was the empty space beside them. A space that should have been filled with burning Uchiha determination and loud proclamations of becoming Hokage. But there was nothing. Only silence. My stomach twisted. Kushina gasped, one trembling hand covering her mouth. No. Obito. Where is Obito? She whispered. Minato's eyes, usually warm and gentle, turned somber as he walked up to her and pulled her into a hug. He saved Kakashi, at the cost of his life. Kushina broke into sobs. I stepped forward, pretending to be confused like a 6-year-old should, but inside I knew. Everything was unfolding exactly as it had in the story. Exactly as it must not happen again. During the debriefing, Minato explained everything we already knew, how Rin's kidnapping had triggered their pursuit, how Obito had been crushed by the collapsing cavern, how he had entrusted his Sharingan to Kakashi moments before death. To the village, it was a heroic tragedy. To me, it was the birth of the villain who would one day kill Minato and Kushina. Over the next few days, Kakashi became a shadow of his former self. Gone was the arrogant prodigy. Gone was the sharp-tongued, rule-obsessed boy. He walked through the village like a ghost, the Sharingan tucked beneath his hitayate. His posture was rigid. His eyes distant. He didn't speak unless spoken to. He didn't smile. Even Rin struggled to reach him. Every time she tried, Kakashi would either withdraw or shut her out completely. The weight of Obito's death rested on his shoulders like a boulder, ironically mirroring the stone that had crushed Obito. "Kakashi," Minato once said during a rest day at home, "Obito wouldn't want this for you." Kakashi merely bowed and left without a word. Even as a child, I knew it clearly. This was the beginning of the Kakashi who would guard the memorial stone day after day, haunted by guilt. Despite Konoha's temporary advantage against the hidden stone, the war was far from over. And my father, Minato Namikaze, had become the single most valuable asset of the entire Hidden Leaf. After only a few days of rest, he was summoned again, this time to fight the hidden cloud forces. The morning he left, Kushina tried to smile for him, but I could see the fear in her eyes. She clutched the edge of his sleeve a little too tightly. "Minato, please be careful," she said softly. He brushed a hand through her hair. "I'll return soon. I promise." Then he knelt in front of me. "Kaito," he said, placing a warm hand on my head, "keep protecting your mother, all right?" My throat tightened. I wanted to tell him everything. I wanted to warn him about Obito. I wanted to beg him not to leave Konoha during Kushina's pregnancy. But I couldn't. Not yet. I forced a brave smile. "I will, Tuchon." He kissed both of us goodbye, then vanished in a flash. For weeks afterward, Kushina and I kept ourselves busy. Training, seals, meditation, trying to live life normally. But I was waiting, watching. And soon enough, it began. At odd hours of the night, I started feeling faint flickers of a familiar chakra signature, one that was twisted, cold, and almost unrecognizable. Obito. He was returning to Konoha, but not as the loudmouthed boy I knew. He lurked silently, watching, studying, looking for weaknesses. Sometimes, I sensed him near the Uchiha compound, monitoring Kakashi, observing Rin from afar. On other nights, I felt his presence near the village barriers, searching for cracks. He always left quickly, as if fearful of being discovered. But he always returned. And each time, his chakra felt colder, more hollow, more masked. I knew one thing. If I didn't change the course of this story now, I would lose everything. Minato, Kushina, Naruto, Konoha, and my second life along with it. So I began planning. Step 1. Track Obito's visits. I needed precise patterns: when he came, how often, where he watched from. Step 2. Create sealing traps. With Kushina teaching me Uzumaki seals, I could craft barrier alerts, small, subtle seals that would flare if a foreign chakra entered specific zones. Step 3. Record everything. Like a detective, I compiled every chakra fluctuation, cross-checked with Kushina's barrier team logs, and even eavesdropped on ANBU patrol rotations. Step 4. Prepare Minato. Not with the truth, that would never be believed. But with hints, warnings, intuition, prophetic dreams. Anything to prepare him. Anything to save them. One night, as the faint light of the moon filled our home, I felt it again. Obito's chakra. Close. Closer than ever before. Not near the Uchiha compound. Not near the Hokage building. But near us. Near the district where Minato and Kushina lived. My heart froze. He was scouting the area where Kushina resided, the future site of the sealing chamber where Naruto would be born. The start of the Nine-Tails attack. Kura-chan. I whispered, sitting up in bed. She stirred beside me. What is it, Kaito? I took a shaky breath. The time for preparations was running out. I had to act. Soon. Very soon. Because Obito Uchiha was already watching. The months crawled by, each one stained with the lingering dread of a future I alone understood. Obito's death had settled over Konoha like a thick, suffocating fog, something everyone felt but no one could see through. Despite the brief celebrations that followed Minato's legendary triumph against the Hidden Stone, the village was still caught in the grinding gears of the Third Great Shinobi War. But for me, every passing day felt like watching a timer count down. A countdown to the night my parents were destined to die. The ceasefire with the Hidden Stone brought a measure of relief, but also political turmoil. Hiruzen's refusal to demand reparations enraged many in the upper ranks. Whispers grew louder with each council meeting. The Hokage has grown soft. We bled for this victory. Where is the compensation? Perhaps it is time for the professor to retire. It had never occurred to me in my past life how deeply this war destabilized Konoha's political foundation. Only now, seeing it firsthand, did I truly understand why Hiruzen stepped down. He wasn't just tired. He was cornered. The war had drained resources, manpower, and morale. Every village, sand, mist, cloud, stone, had dealt devastating blows. But one man kept pulling Konoha back from the edge. Minato Namikaze. His victories had become the backbone of the Leaf's survival. On the cloud front, his presence alone turned defeat into steady progress. Enemy scouts whispered his name like a superstition, the Yellow Flash. Raikage's death, whether myth or truth, only fueled the cloud's fury, but even they struggled against Minato's strategy and speed. Yet for every victory Minato brought home, he left again. Almost as soon as he walked through our door, he was called to another battlefield. Meanwhile, Kakashi and Rin found themselves reassigned to the Hidden Mist front. Watching them prepare to leave, just a few months after losing Obito, was heartbreaking. Kakashi stood silently outside the Uchiha Memorial Stone, his hand resting on its cold surface. His silver hair fluttered in the wind, but his eyes, they were quiet. Too quiet for a boy of 13. Rin tried her best to smile, but the exhaustion showed through her expression. She still brought Kakashi lunch sometimes, still tried to talk to him, but grief had carved a deep, unyielding distance between them. They weren't just walking into a battlefield. They were walking toward destiny, and I was powerless to stop it. No matter how much knowledge I had from my past life, this particular event, the kidnapping, the Three Tails Rin's death, was impossible to interfere with. The entire operation was orchestrated by beings far beyond my reach, Madara, Uchiha, and Zetsu, puppeteers who controlled an entire village from within. Even if I ran straight to Kakashi and screamed the future at him, it wouldn't change a thing. As time passed, strange reports circulated from the hidden mist front. Shinobi disappearing. Entire squads wiped out. Encounters with unidentifiable creatures that melted into the ground. A sense of dread that lurked behind every fog bank. The shinobi stationed there began describing battles that felt wrong. Not like fighting humans. More like fighting ghosts. But I recognized exactly what they had faced. White Zetsu clones. Madara's unseen army. They were testing, preparing, and manipulating. Konoha only saw the mist village at war. But I saw the truth. This was the quiet prelude to the darkest turning point of Kakashi's life. Every night, I lay awake sensing faint chakra signatures brushing against the village barriers. Always subtle, always brief. Obito's presence lingered like a flickering candle. Sometimes near the Uchiha clan compound. Sometimes near Kakashi's training grounds. Sometimes near the outskirts. But never for long. He was gathering intel. Spying. Preparing. And worst of all, each time I sensed him, his chakra felt more hollow than before. He was becoming the masked man. And every time his chakra touched the edge of the village, my skin crawled. My stomach twisted. A constant whisper echoed in my mind. He's coming for Kushina. The war outside the village raged on. The mist was weakened after Might Due unleashed the 8 gates, sacrificing his life to protect his son and teammates while taking down half of the 7 ninja swordsmen. The hidden cloud was barely managing with Minato countering every strategic move. The hidden sand, exhausted, had already begun withdrawing. Piece by piece. The war was ending. Which meant one thing. The timeline was closing in. The night of Naruto's birth. The night Obito would attack. The night Madara's plan would begin to unfold. The night Minato and Kushina would die. Unless I changed the script. Unless I acted. Unless I made a move strong enough to divert the tidal wave of fate. Every spare moment, I trained. Every night, I refined seals. Every day, I studied my father and mother's strategies. Every opportunity, I placed hidden detection tags around our home. Every hour, I monitored flare-ups of Obito's chakra like a hawk. Because if I made even a single mistake, I would lose everything. I wasn't going to let that happen. Not this time. Not in this life. The storm was coming. And I would meet it head-on. The cheers that erupted across Konoha on the day of Minato's inauguration felt like a festival of light, a bright golden flame blazing across the village. Everywhere I looked, villagers were smiling, shouting, celebrating the man they saw as the future of the Hidden Leaf. But beneath all that brightness, I felt something else. A shiver. A tremor. A shadow. I couldn't help it. As I watched my father step forward and raise his hand to the cheering crowd, I felt a tightness grow in my chest. The very moment he became the 4th Hokage was also the moment fate began tightening its grip around him. Around us. Around my family. My tiny hand curled into a fist. I wouldn't let destiny take them from me. Not this time. Kushina, standing beside me, wiped away a joyful tear. Look at him, Kaito. He's so cool, you know. I nodded with a small smile, though inside I felt the weight of a boulder pressing on my heart. The days following Minato's ascension to Hokage were chaotic in the village, but warm in our home. Celebratory food deliveries. Congratulatory gifts. Endless visits from clans and departments. Letters from allied villages. Even the Uzumaki clan remnants scattered across the world sent blessings, something Kushina read with a bittersweet smile. Minato was busier than ever. Far busier than when he was leading missions. Meetings with the village council. Strategy discussions for ending the war with Cloud. Negotiations with Sand. ANBU assignments. Administrative reforms. It was ironic. Minato, the fastest shinobi alive, now moved slowest through his own home, exhausted from paperwork and meetings. Yet no matter how busy he was, he always made time for us. Every evening, after finishing his duties, he would come home and place Naruto's future baby blankets on Kushina's belly, even though she wasn't pregnant yet. He would smile at her and joke about how she'd probably end up with twins because of her appetite. He never suspected that death was looming. He didn't realize he was smiling at a future he might never see. I did. That week, something shifted, subtly, but enough for a sensitive sensor like me to feel. Obito's chakra. Faint. Distant. But unmistakable. It brushed against the village barriers like a breeze, almost cautious. Almost curious. Not watching Kakashi. Not watching Rin. But watching Minato. And Kushina. And our home. The masked man was drawing closer. That night, after dinner, Minato stepped outside the house, leaning against the railing as he looked out over Konoha. The moonlight caught on his hair, turning it silver gold. I hesitated before approaching. But I couldn't hold it in anymore. Tuchon. He turned, smiling at me. HM? Still awake, Kaito? I climbed up onto the railing beside him, my feet dangling. I wanted to ask. I began. His eyes softened. What's on your mind? I swallowed hard. Do you think something bad is coming? He blinked, surprised by the question. Something dangerous. Something that might hurt our family. When he didn't answer immediately, I continued, choosing my words carefully. I just have a bad feeling. Like a nightmare that won't go away. Minato placed a hand gently on my shoulder. Kaito, he said softly, fear is natural. Especially for a child living through war. That stung, because it wasn't fear of war that haunted me. But I continued, clinging to the truth I could safely say. I'm afraid something will happen to Kurachon. Minato's smile faded slightly. He placed his hand on my head. Kaito, I promise. I will do everything in my power to protect both of you. Nothing will happen to Kushina. Or to you. I forced myself to nod. But inside, I knew promises weren't enough. Time was running out. News spread across Konoha like wildfire. Hidden Stone had officially withdrawn from the war. Hidden Sand and Hidden Mist were preparing treaties. Hidden Cloud was weakening under constant counterattacks. For the first time in years, Konoha was dreaming of peace. Shops reopened. Children played in the streets again. Laughing voices filled the markets. But beneath that fragile tranquility, the Uchiha whispered among themselves about a masked man seen near the outskirts. The barrier team reported minor anomalies. ANBU were on higher alert, though the village leaders didn't understand why. Only a few knew the truth. War was ending. But a different disaster was approaching. One afternoon, a knock sounded at our door. Kushina opened it, and froze. Standing at the entrance were two elders of the Uzumaki clan, survivors from Whirlpool's fall, wrapped in red cloaks marked with ancient Uzumaki emblems. Their faces carried years of wisdom and sorrow. Is this the home of Kushina Uzumaki? One elder asked warmly. Kushina's eyes widened. No way, are you? Yes, the elder woman said softly. We heard of your husband becoming Hokage. And we sensed the awakening of Uzumaki chakra in this household. Her gaze drifted toward me. I felt the hairs on my neck stand. Kushina stepped aside and pulled me forward. This is my son, Kaito. The two elders exchanged glances, impressed. He has strong chakra, one whispered. Uzumaki chakra, the other said. And a future that will shake nations. Kushina smiled proudly. But I couldn't shake the chill that crawled down my spine. Because one thing was clear. They saw something in me. Something I didn't want others to see. Something that Obito, Madara, and even Kurama might sense one day. I bowed. It's an honor to meet you. The elder woman knelt and lifted my chin gently. Kaito Uzumaki, she said, her eyes burning with ancient power, the storm that approaches this village will seek you as much as it seeks your mother. My breath froze. My heart stopped. Minato stepped out of the house right then, and the elders bowed. But the woman's final whisper lingered in my ears. Prepare yourself. As Minato escorted the elders out, I stood in the doorway, staring at the sunset. My mind raced. Obito, Zetsu, Kushina's pregnancy, Kurama, the sealing chamber, the masked man's arrival, the fourth Hokage's death. The countdown continued. And time was running out. I clenched my fists. I wouldn't let the prophecy come true. I wouldn't let my family die. Not in this timeline. Not in this life. The sun had already begun its descent as Kaito and Itachi began their walk back toward the heart of the Uchiha district. The dust of their spar still clung to their clothes, but neither of them seemed to mind. There was something refreshing, almost liberating, about a fight where nothing else mattered except the clash of fists, timing, and instinct. As they disappeared into the clusters of houses built of dark wood and stone, the warmth of the village wrapped around them. The lanterns lining the streets flickered to life one by one, bathing the district in soft amber light. Itachi spoke first, quiet as always. That was a good spar, he said, hands tucked into his sleeves. You've grown much stronger. It feels like every time we fight, you've improved. Kaito chuckled lightly. Of course. I can't let you stay ahead forever, you know. Itachi gave him a sidelong glance, lips lifting in a faint smile. I wonder about that. They walked in comfortable silence for a moment before Itachi added, and, thank you for earlier. The conversation. Kaito blinked in surprise. About life? That. Itachi hummed softly. You helped clarify something for me. What's that? That even if I don't fully understand the meaning of life yet, I understand that my purpose will probably be tied to the people I want to protect. Kaito smiled quietly. Yeah. I think that's where it always starts. As they approached a junction on the road, Kaito suddenly halted in his tracks. Itachi noticed instantly. What is it? He asked, voice low and alert. Kaito's eyes narrowed. There it was again. A chakra signature. Cold. Hollow. Flickering like a glitch in reality. Like light bending around nothingness. Kaito's heart dropped. It was faint, barely detectable, but unmistakable. Obito. Watching. Observing. His presence wasn't close enough for ordinary sensors, but Kaito's chakra sensitivity, partially awakened through Uzumaki lineage and months of Fuinjutsu studies, picked it up like a whisper on the edge of existence. Itachi studied Kaito carefully. You sense something, don't you? Kaito forced a smile. No. Not here. Not with Itachi beside him. Not when he didn't have answers that wouldn't raise suspicion. Nothing, Kaito laughed softly, rubbing the back of his head. Just got distracted thinking about ramen. Itachi raised an eyebrow, unconvinced, but didn't push further. As always, he muttered. But he kept glancing around as they moved, because Itachi's instincts, sharp as a blade, had picked up on Kaito's shift in energy even if he couldn't sense the intruder himself. At the entrance to the Uchiha district, the two boys came to a stop. I'll see you tomorrow, Kaito, Itachi said with a small bow of the head. Yeah, Kaito replied. Let's train again soon. And finish our tie, Itachi added. Kaito smirked. I'll win next time for sure. Itachi gave a soft HN, before turning and walking deeper into the district. Kaito watched him disappear around a corner, then his smile fell. His breath steadied. His face hardened. He turned his gaze toward the distant tree line behind the Uchiha compound, the direction he had sensed Obito's chakra from. His fists clenched. He was watching the village again. Getting closer. Testing the waters. Not yet attacking. Not yet making a move. But observing. Preparing. Watching for the perfect moment to strike. Kaito exhaled slowly. If you think I'm just going to let the story play out, he whispered under his breath, you're wrong. When Kaito arrived home, dusk had deepened into early evening. The lights inside the house were warm and welcoming. Kushina was in the kitchen, humming a soft tune as she prepared dinner. "Kaito, you're back," she called excitedly the moment she saw him. "Where were you, HM? You smell like dust and sweat. Were you sparring again?" "Hee." "Maybe," Kaito answered sheepishly as he entered. Kushina placed her hands on her hips, pouting dramatically. "You're going to ruin your cute face if you keep getting punched every day, you know." Kaito laughed. "Itachi punched my face, so it's fine." Kushina froze. "Itachi? Uchiha Itachi? 4-year-old Prodigy Itachi?" Kaito nodded. Kushina let out a groan, dragging a hand down her face. "That boy is too talented for his own good. Honestly, you two will give me wrinkles." Minato entered from the living room, chuckling. "Kushina, you say that, but you encourage him more than anyone." Well," she stammered defensively. "Of course I do. He's our son." Minato ruffled Kaito's hair affectionately. "How was the spar?" "A draw," Kaito answered proudly. Minato raised a brow. "A draw against Itachi? Impressive." Kushina grinned. "See? I told you he's growing stronger every day." Minato's smile faltered for a moment, barely noticeable, but Kaito saw it. The fourth Hokage had been stressed lately, and Kaito knew why. Tensions with the Cloud Village. Strange attacks near the borders. Whispers of the masked man. And Kushina's chakra fluctuating strangely, signs of early pregnancy approaching. Everything was aligning toward that night. The night of fate. That night, after dinner was cleaned up and Minato went to his study, Kaito sat on his bed, staring out the window. Obito was getting bolder. Kushina's pregnancy would begin soon. And Minato's duties as Hokage were deepening. Time was running out. Kaito closed his eyes. "I need to get stronger. Fast." He needed seals to counter Kamui, a detection barrier of his own, a way to alert Minato instantly, a method to track Obito's spatial distortions, a personal sealing jutsu strong enough to restrain the Ninetales even momentarily. His heart pounded with urgency. The timeline was catching up. And if he didn't get ahead of it, he would lose everything. Kaito stood up, walked to his desk, unrolled a blank sealing scroll, dipped his brush in ink, and began to write. A new seal. A dangerous seal. A seal that did not exist in the original timeline. Kamui Disruption Seal, Prototype. He wasn't going to wait for the Night of the Ninetales. He was going to rewrite history. Kushina's teasing proved relentless. 4 days. What began as a harmless smirk turned into a full-blown motherly attack as she poked at Kaito's cheeks, ruffled his hair, and deliberately misinterpreted every word he said. "So-chi," she sang with a mischievous grin, leaning over the kitchen counter while Kaito munched on rice. "You met a girl today, huh? A Hyuga girl, no less. My, starting young, you know." "Kurchan, stop," Kaito groaned, face burning crimson. "It wasn't like that, you're misunderstanding everything." "Oh ho? Misunderstanding, you say?" Kushina pressed a finger to her lips theatrically. "Then why is your face all red?" Kaito covered his face with both hands. He regretted speaking. He regretted being born. He regretted ever opening his mouth at that playground. Minato, sitting on the sofa with the evening paper, peeked over the top with mild curiosity. "Kushina, don't tease him too much." Kushina rounded on him instantly, pointing. "You. Don't act like you weren't just as flustered when you met me the first time, Minakoi." Minato sputtered and nearly inhaled his tea. Kaito groaned again. "This is torture." "It's called character development, So-chi." Kushina winked. "Get used to it." But as the days passed, and as Kushina's teasing gradually gave way to other topics, Kaito's thoughts never truly drifted away from Hataru Hyuga. A prodigy. A child born early. A girl who didn't exist in the original timeline. The Hyuga heiress, at 4 years old. Something didn't add up. There were only two possibilities. The timeline was shifting. Changes ripple outward, Obito saved or not, Minato being warned, Kaito's very existence. Something was pushing events out of alignment. Hataru was always meant to exist, but died before canon. Quietly. Unmentioned. Forgotten outside clan lines. Either way, her presence meant one thing. Konoha's history wasn't as fixed as Kaito believed. And that terrified him more than he wanted to admit. 2 days later, as snow once again dusted the village rooftops like powdered sugar, Kaito was walking alone near the clan compounds while running an errand for Kushina. Reality. Kushina tricked him into walking so she could finish making dango in peace. He walked past the Hyuga compound, tall wooden walls, pristine courtyards, and the faint hum of disciplined chakra. Kaito Uzumaki. The voice came from above. Kaito looked up sharply, and there she was. Hataru Hyuga. Standing atop the compound wall, arms folded neatly behind her back, posture straight as an arrow. Her white eyes were cool yet curious. Snowflakes clung to her midnight blue hair like scattered stars. Kaito articulated brilliantly. Hataru dropped gracefully to the ground, landing without a sound. "You're following me?" Kaito asked, confused. "No," she replied plainly. "I sensed you approaching." "Oh." Hataru's expression remained unreadable. "Why did you intervene that day?" "Because they were bullying you," Kaito replied. "And because they're jerks." "You thought I needed help?" "It wasn't a question." Kaito hesitated. "Well, I didn't know you could fight." A faint spark lit in Hataru's eyes. Pride? Offense? Gratitude? He couldn't tell. "You are strong," she said simply. "Ha." "In the garden," she clarified. "Your stance, your breathing, your chakra. They are not ordinary for a child." Kaito felt his spine stiffen. Hyuga were sensitive to chakra signatures from the moment they could walk. Of course she noticed. "I am Eris," Hataru added, voice calm but carrying an unexpected softness. "Every strong shinobi in this village is of interest to me." Kaito blinked. "Wait, so you're like, scouting me?" Hataru considered this. "If you want shorthand terminology, yes." Kaito stared. Hataru, however, was not finished. "You mentioned your name. Uzumaki. Then and now, I find it curious." "What's curious about it?" Kaito asked cautiously. "Uzumaki are known for long life and vast chakra reserves. But you're..." She examined him closely, her Byakugan activating for the briefest second. Kaito felt a jolt of panic. Had she seen inside his chakra system? The activation faded. "Different," she finished cryptically. "Your chakra does not flow like that of a child. Or an Uzumaki." Kaito swallowed hard. "Different how?" he asked. Hataru's eyes narrowed slightly. "You feel incomplete." That shook him. Before he could ask what she meant, Hataru abruptly stepped past him. "I will see you again," she said, her voice cool and confident. "Kaito Uzumaki." With that, she walked away toward the clan gates, vanishing inside. Kaito stood rooted to the spot. Incomplete. What did that mean? Did she sense the duality of his souls? Did she detect a foreign chakra pattern? Had his reincarnation left an imprint visible only to the Byakugan? Whatever it was, she saw something no one else had. And that left a knot in his stomach. Later that night, as Minato returned from the Hokage office and Kushina prepared spicy stew, Kaito sat alone in his room on the tatami floor, mind racing with everything Hataru had said. But then, a ripple of chakra. Cold. Detached. Dimensional. Kaito's eyes widened. Obito. He was back. This time closer. Right outside the village. Watching. Preparing. Kaito's heart hammered. He stood up. A decision forming. "If you're watching the village again, then I'm done sitting still." He moved to the drawer beside his desk, pulling out the nearly completed scroll. Kamui Disruption Seal, version 2. He'd made progress, dangerous progress. Tonight, he would test it. even if it meant facing the masked man himself. Sleep evaded Kaito that night. Though his body was exhausted from days of training, his mind buzzed, loud, restless, unable to settle. Lying under his warm blanket in the comfort of his room, staring up at the ceiling, Kaito felt a weight pressing onto his chest. Kushina was pregnant. Naruto would be born. And with that, the night of the 9 tails. The night his parents die. He curled up tightly, fists clenching the sheets. "No," he whispered into the darkness. "Not this time. Not again." But fear seeped in through the cracks. Fear of loss. Fear of destiny. Fear of the unknown changes already rippling through this altered timeline. Hataru Hyuga, someone who shouldn't exist. Rin's death accelerating Obito's fall. And Kaito himself, a reincarnated variable the world had never accounted for. Everything was shifting. The future was no longer fixed. And that terrified him more than anything. When sunlight finally filtered into his room the next morning, Kaito rose slowly, rubbing the sleep from puffy eyes. His heart felt heavy, but beneath that heaviness, a sharp clarity formed. He had 8 months. 8 months to prepare. 8 months to protect Kushina during labor. 8 months to keep Minato alive. 8 months to prevent Obito from taking control of the 9 tails. Or to kill him. Even thinking the word felt wrong. Killing someone who once became a hero, twisted at Kaito's conscience. But then he saw Kushina's smiling face in his memory. Her laughter. Her warmth. Her hands preparing rice balls for him. Her nagging about making friends. Her scolding when he overtrained. Her promise, "You won't ever lose Kurchan or Tuchan, you know." He clenched his fists again. No. He would not let them die. Not in any timeline. When he stepped into the kitchen, the sight that greeted him was enough to momentarily ease his burden. Minato sat at the low table, skimming a stack of Hokage documents with a weary smile, wearing his usual blue flak jacket, half Hokage, half dad. Kushina, humming softly, prepared miso soup with one hand and balanced a kettle with the other. Her face glowed with a soft maternal joy. It wasn't chakra, wasn't a jutsu, just happiness. Seeing her like that was almost painful. "Good morning, Kaito," Minato said, looking up. "Did you sleep well?" Kaito forced a smile. "Hi, Tuchan." Kushina turned with an exaggerated flourish. "Breakfast is ready, you twos." Minato chuckled. "Careful there, Kushina. You'll drop the miso again." She puffed her cheeks dramatically. "Minato, I'm pregnant, not helpless, you know." Kaito couldn't help smiling genuinely at that. For the next few minutes, the Uzumaki Namikaze home was filled with laughter. Minato and Kushina teased each other, argued playfully, talked about baby names. Kaito absorbed everything. Every sound. Every expression. Every memory. He would protect this. Not even fate had the right to take it. Kaito found himself once again wandering near the Hyuga compound, lost in thought. Every day since Kushina's announcement, he had been strategizing, planning, trying to cover every angle. He needed strength. He needed allies. He needed information. He needed someone who could see what others couldn't. Kaito Uzumaki. The voice was unmistakable. Hataru stepped out from behind a stone lantern, her Byakugan inactive but her presence sharp and calculating as ever. "You've been troubled," she observed. Kaito raised an eyebrow. "You can tell." She nodded. "Your chakra circulation. It wavers." He froze. Hataru stepped closer. "Uzumaki chakra is naturally dense and turbulent. But yours has a tremor. A hesitation." A hesitation. She had sensed his fear. Kaito looked away. Hataru continued, surprisingly gentle, "Something weighs on you." Her white eyes softened, barely, but enough to notice. Kaito inhaled deeply. He wanted to talk. He wanted to tell someone, anyone. But he couldn't. Not about reincarnation. Not about Obito. Not about the future. "Hataru," he said finally, "if someone you cared about was in danger, but no one else could see that danger coming, what would you do?" Hataru didn't hesitate. "I would prepare," she said. and I would not hesitate to kill the threat." There was no malice in her voice, only clarity. Hyuga clarity. Kaito stared at her. For the first time, he truly understood something about Hataru Hyuga. She was not Hinata. She was not shy. Not timid. Not unsure. Hataru was forged from steel. And in her calm, unwavering tone, Kaito found something he desperately needed. Resolve. That night, Kaito began writing on a scroll in his room, candle flickering beside him. The seal he was working on was still in early stages, delicate, experimental, dangerous. Kamui Disruption Seal, version 3. Stability, unknown. Control, fragile. Power requirement, enormous. As he pressed ink into the parchment, he whispered to himself, "I will protect you, Kara-chan. I will protect you, Tu-chan." He dipped the brush into the ink again. "And Naruto." A faint smile formed on his lips. "I'll make sure you're born into a peaceful world. Not one filled with war and loss." His brush continued to glide across the scroll, forming intricate symbols, the Uzumaki script flowing like a river of power. "I will rewrite fate." And far beyond the village walls, in the shadows of the forest, a masked figure watched Konoha silently, waiting, planning, preparing. His single Sharingan glowed. "Soon," Obito murmured. On his way home, Kaito's footsteps echoed softly down the familiar path that cut through the forest lining the village outskirts. The late summer breeze brushed gently against his skin, warm yet tinged with the unmistakable shift toward autumn. The leaves rustled lazily overhead, casting dappled shadows across the ground. As he leapt from one branch to another, drifting closer to the residential district, a vague sense of unease suddenly rippled through his senses, faint, fleeting, almost like a whisper brushing past the edge of his consciousness. He halted in mid-motion, chakra flaring subtly from the soles of his feet to anchor him against the bark of a nearby branch. There it is again. That presence. The same faint, flickering chakra signature he had sensed intermittently over the past few months. It hovered at the periphery of perception, like a shadow behind a veil. Then, just as he focused, gone. Instantly, completely, unervingly gone. A chill ran down Kaito's spine. No ordinary shinobi could mask their presence so abruptly, so cleanly. Obito? No, this doesn't feel exactly like him. Obito's chakra, although concealed, still carried a familiar turbulence born of anger and grief. This one was different, colder, older, more alien in nature. Zetsu. Just saying the name in his mind felt wrong. Zetsu was a nightmare concealed beneath the earth, a creature born from the will of Madara and Kagaya. Something not fully human, not fully alive, and far more dangerous than anyone in the village realized. Kaito's hands tightened into fists. If Zetsu was observing them now, the Nine-Tails night was drawing closer. Too close. He clicked his tongue and resumed his sprint home. As soon as Kaito entered, warm scents of miso broth and simmering vegetables welcomed him. Kushina was seated near the low table, her round belly gently rising beneath her loose dress. Her face glowed with that serene, maternal radiance she had embraced in recent months. "Kaito, welcome home, Sochi," she called, waving at him energetically despite her condition. "You're right on time," Minato added from the kitchen, wearing an apron, an image that would send half the ANBU squad into disbelief. He was carefully slicing radishes, his expression focused and domestic. Kaito felt something in his chest loosen. He was home. Safe. Even if danger lurked beyond these walls. Had a good spar? Minato asked without looking up. Kaito nodded. "Hi. I won today." "Oh Hoch. My Sochi is strong." Kushina beamed, puffing her chest out proudly. Minato chuckled. "I hope Itachi's okay. That boy is frighteningly talented for his age." Kaito took a seat beside his mother, gently placing a hand on her belly. "Tu-chan, Kur-chan, how is Naruto doing?" Kushina laughed softly. "Still kicking like he owns the place, you know." She ruffled his hair affectionately. "I swear, he's going to be as energetic as you." Minato walked over and placed the dish on the table. "He's healthy. That's all that matters." But Kaito noticed something. Minato's fingers trembled imperceptibly. Minato was smiling, but the subtle crease between his brows spoke volumes. Kaito could sense the unspoken tension beneath the warm family moment. Minato had sensed it too, the presence. They all ate together, laughter echoing through the small home. For a moment, it felt peaceful, a stolen moment in the calm before an inevitable storm. When Kushina retired to rest, Minato approached Kaito quietly outside on the porch, his expression unusually serious. "You sensed it too, didn't you?" Kaito nodded. "It wasn't Kakoshi's shadow," Minato continued. "Nor was it Anbu. That type of presence. It's unnatural." Kaito swallowed. "I think it might be someone working with the masked man I told you about." Minato's eyes sharpened. A cold gust of wind drifted through the yard. "Kaito," Minato said in a low voice, "whatever happens, I want you to stay close to your mother for the next few months. Never leave her side for too long." Kaito felt the weight of the words settle deep into his chest. "Hi, Tuchon." Minato smiled faintly, reaching down to ruffle his son's hair. "You're strong, Kaito. Stronger than I was at your age. But some enemies are better left to adults." Kaito nodded, but inside he disagreed. "No. I will protect both of you, even if it means facing monsters." As night fell and lanterns flickered to life across the village, Kaito stepped outside to fetch water. The moon hung low in the sky, pale and crescent. That's when he sensed it. A soft footstep behind him. Calm. Controlled. Familiar. Kaito turned, and found himself staring straight into a pair of pale lavender-white eyes. "Hataru." The Hyuga heiress stepped out from the shadows, a faint mist of cold air around her. "You were being watched," she said simply. Kaito froze. "You sensed it too?" Hataru nodded. "Something ancient. It brushed against the edge of my Byakugan. It hides beneath the earth." Her hand slowly tightened at her side. "Kaito," she whispered, "you are being targeted." The words sent a shock through his entire body. "What do you mean? Targeted by who?" Hataru shook her head. "I do not know. But this presence was not interested in your mother. Not your father. Not the baby." Her white eyes slowly met his. "It was watching you." Kaito's heart thundered. Zetsu wasn't just monitoring Kakashi. He wasn't just spying on Kushina. It was him. Kaito Uzumaki. A variable in the timeline. A deviation. Something Madara and Zetsu could not understand or control. Hataru stepped closer, voice low but unwavering. "I will help you. Whatever it is, you will not face it alone." For the first time in a long while, Kaito felt something besides dread. Hope. A new ally. Someone strong. Someone sharp. Someone fearless. He exhaled slowly. "Thank you, Hataru." She nodded once, and disappeared into the darkness as silently as she'd arrived. The moon glowed dimly overhead. The world grew still. And Kaito understood something with chilling clarity. The night of Naruto's birth was no longer just a danger to his parents. It was a danger to him too. But this time, he would be ready. Kaito's sigh went unnoticed amidst the warm laughter that filled the room. Minato and Kushina were glowing with joy, and Jiraiya, despite trying to hide behind bravado, looked genuinely touched. For a moment, the legendary Sanin's expression softened, stripped of his antics and swagger. There was nostalgia there, and maybe even a hint of longing. Kaito watched him silently. This was the man who would one day leave Naruto alone for 12 long years. The same man who, despite his strength, would fail to shield Naruto from loneliness. But right now, he seemed different. Kinder. More grounded. Maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe Kaito could change something. Even a little. All right. Jiraiya clapped his hands together, leaning back with a dramatic sigh. "Since I'm now officially a godfather, future godfather, I expect special treatment. A feast worthy of the great Toad Sage." Kushina shot him a glare sharp enough to slice through a boulder. "One plate of food. No more. And no peeking while I cook, you know." she scolded. Jiraiya froze. Minato laughed behind his hand. Kaito smirked. Kushina's wrath was universal. Jiraiya leaned toward Minato. How do you survive living with a woman like that? Minato straightened up instantly and whispered back, because I enjoy living. Jiraiya snorted as Kaito choked on air. Once the meal was served, the energy in the room mellowed into something warm and familial. Even Jiraiya, self-proclaimed man of culture, ate quietly for a moment, savoring Kushina's cooking. Kaito, he said suddenly, chopsticks paused mid-air, I haven't had a chance to talk to you properly. Kaito glanced up warily. I heard, Jiraiya continued, that you're training hard. And that your chakra control is Uzumaki level frightening. Minato nodded proudly. He's already learned smokeless shunshin. Jiraiya whistled. At 5? Damn. You're a prodigy. Kaito blinked, startled. Praise from Jiraiya felt strange. But, the Sannin added, leaning in, don't rush. Power that grows too fast can twist you. Seen it too many times. For a second, a fraction of a second, Kaito saw something in Jiraiya's eyes. Regret. Pain. A ghost named Naruto. A broken boy. A ruined prophecy. Kaito's chest tightened. Maybe he had been too harsh in judging him. The man had scars older than Kaito's previous life. But even so, Jiraiya still had to do better. And Kaito knew exactly what to do. Kaito placed his chopsticks down and spoke carefully. Jiraiya-sama. Jiraiya blinked. You're going to be Naruto's godfather, right? Right. Jiraiya puffed up proudly. Kaito stared straight at him. Then, promise you won't leave him alone. The table fell silent. Kushina's eyes softened. Minato froze mid-bite, his yellow brows rising slightly. Even Jiraiya stopped moving. Kaito, Kushina whispered, touched. Jiraiya swallowed. That's a big thing to ask, kid. Kaito didn't blink. Even bigger than writing a book. Or chasing girls. A vein popped on Kushina's forehead. Minato coughed violently to hide a laugh. Jiraiya sputtered. Hey, what do you know about? Enough, Kaito replied firmly. Enough to know Naruto deserves better. The silence that followed was heavier. Deeper, important. Then, Jiraiya's smile faded, replaced by a small, tired one. You're right, he murmured. You're absolutely right. He looked down at the table, fingers tightening around his chopsticks. I failed Minato as a teacher. Failed Naruto. Failed Yahiko. Failed so many people. I don't want to fail anyone else. Minato's eyes softened with gratitude. Jiraiya exhaled shakily. I'll do better. For Naruto. And for you too. Kaito felt something loosen inside him. Maybe, this time, things could be different. Once Kushina went to rest, Minato, Jiraiya, and Kaito remained in the living room. Jiraiya's demeanor changed instantly, Sannin mode activated. He reached into his pouch and pulled out a scroll glowing with powerful chakra signatures. Kaito. His voice was grave. There's something you should know. Minato straightened. Sensei. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed. Someone has been sneaking around Konoha's borders. An unknown entity. My spy network caught glimpses, but the descriptions don't match any known shinobi. Kaito's heart dropped. Zetsu. We don't know what it is, Jiraiya continued, but it avoids every trap. Every surveillance seal. Every trackanine. Minato rubbed his forehead. I suspected as much. Jiraiya leaned closer to Minato. And with Kushina's due date approaching, we can't afford any unknowns. Kaito clenched his fists. Here it was. The countdown to that night had officially begun. After Jiraiya left to report to Hiruzen, Minato knelt beside Kaito. Kaito. Yes, Tusan. Minato placed both hands on his son's shoulders. I know you're trying to protect us. I can see how hard you've been training. And I'm proud of you. Kaito's throat tightened. But understand this, Minato's voice dropped, filled with a quiet strength only Hokage possessed. Your mother and I are not fragile. We are your parents. It is our job to protect you. Kaito's heart ached painfully. But Tusan, I can help. I know. Minato smiled gently. And you will. But when the time comes, don't act alone. Promise me. Kaito hesitated. I promise. Minato pulled him into a hug. We'll face whatever comes. Together. As Kaito lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, his mind churned. Jiraiya was back. Zetsu was watching. Naruto's birth was nearing. And the masked man, Obito, was getting closer. But this time, Naruto wouldn't be alone. Kushina wouldn't be helpless. Minato wouldn't be caught off guard. And Kaito? Kaito Uzumaki was no longer the child destiny overlooked. He was the variable. The change. The storm the enemy never anticipated. He smiled faintly. Come then, Obito. This time. I'm waiting for you. Jiraiya's grin split his face like a cracked shell, half pride, half pure mischief. He leaned back, letting the afternoon sun wash over his broad shoulders as he watched the 5 shuriken disappear into the wood with a satisfying thunk. Not bad at all, he said, clapping once. You got it on the first try. Most genin stumble over the hand signs for weeks. Kaito wiped the sweat from his brow and let himself smile. It uses a lot of chakra, but I thought I could do it. You did, Jiraiya agreed. But don't make the mistake of thinking that more jutsu means more power. Technique without wisdom is a quick way to get yourself killed. Learn its limits. Learn how much you can expend and what you can sacrifice to pull something off. Kaito nodded earnestly. He'd heard similar lectures from Minato and Kushina, but coming from Jiraiya the words felt heavier, like a lesson with a story tucked inside. Hey Squirt, Jiraiya added, leaning forward and lowering his voice conspiratorially, you want the real trick? It isn't the clone making itself. It's how you integrate those clones into your flow. Use them for distraction, for pressure, for breaking guard, not just for show. If the enemy knows you can throw 5 shuriken, they'll guard differently. If they don't know which one is really flying, you win. Kaito's brain immediately lit up with possibilities. He pictured combinations, smoke, afterimages, seals that detonated only when certain clones hit, a choreography of small, precise moves that built into a decisive blow. You're thinking too much like an adult, Jiraiya snorted fondly, but there was no scolding in it. Keep that brain, kid. Keep that curiosity. They practiced until the sun began to tilt toward the trees. Jiraiya pushed Kaito, showing him minor adaptations. A fake throw, a delayed clone, a way to use a shuriken clone as a stepping stone to propel yourself into an aerial follow-up. Kaito caught on fast, already weaving the little tricks into his style. At one point Kaito overshot a clone and felt a sharp tug at his side, a warning from his body. He faltered, breath hitching, as a thin line of nausea crept in. Jiraiya's expression changed in an instant from mischief to serious concern. You all right? Jiraiya asked, putting a steady hand on Kaito's shoulder. Kaito blinked and swallowed. I'm fine. Just a little tired. Jiraiya's eyes flicked to the horizon. Don't push past your edge. Your Uzumaki blood helps you recover fast, but that doesn't mean damage doesn't matter. He cocked his head. You look like you've been doing more than normal. Kaito's face flushed. He'd meant to hide the extra training, the nights of seals and chakra drills he did while everyone slept. But he knew he couldn't fool Jiraiya's sensei instinct. Because I need to be stronger, Kaito finally admitted. For my family. There was no judgment in Jiraiya's expression now, only a steady, unvarnished acceptance. Then train smart. I'll help where I can. Teach you some ways to save chakra, ways to conserve for the big moment. But you're not doing anything reckless. Promise me that. I promise, Kaito said, and felt the promise settle like a stone into his chest, heavy, grounding. They walked back toward the village together. Jiraiya chattered lighter things, a ridiculous anecdote about toads, a bit of gossip from the Sannin network, but every now and then he slipped into something sharper, a technique tip, a tactical insight, a reminder to always check your blind spots. Minato's training philosophy bled through Jiraiya's tone too, speed and precision, but never at the expense of discipline. When they reached the Uzumaki house, the lanterns were lit and Kushina was waiting on the porch. The sight of her smiling face eased something in Kaito's chest that he couldn't quite name. Minato met them at the gate, eyes crinkled with that tired, proud look. "How'd it go?" Kushina asked, already brimming with that fierce maternal curiosity. "Jiraiya-sensei taught me the Shuriken Kage Bunshin," Kaito reported proudly. "And he showed me how to use the clones more cleverly." Kushina clapped a hand to her mouth. "Oh? That's incredible. But don't overdo it. You hear me?" "I hear you, Kurchan," Kaito said, and this time he meant it. Later that evening, after dinner, Kaito unrolled the small practice scroll he kept hidden beneath his futon. He sketched a brief combo, shuriken clones timed with a paralysis seal and a substitution trick, and then paused. He thought of Minato's smile, Kushina's laugh, Naruto's tiny presence kicking inside Kushina's belly. He thought of Hataru's Byakugan and Jiraiya's unexpected solemnity. He thought of the unseen eyes at the village edge. He put down the brush and whispered into the dim room, half prayer, half vow. "I'll be ready. I'll make sure it doesn't happen." Outside, the wind moved through the trees and the village settled into its nightly rhythm. In the quiet, one small boy's resolve felt very large indeed, a small, stubborn beacon against the dark. The night slowly gave way to dawn, but the tension lingering in the Namikaze household did not fade with the sunlight. Kaito slept between his parents that night, Kushina holding him close, Minato lying awake longer than usual, staring at the ceiling while Kaito's trembling confession replayed in his mind over and over again. And though Kaito's breathing steadied, though his small frame finally relaxed into Kushina's warmth, Minato did not sleep. By sunrise, Kaito pretended to stir, letting his eyes flutter open slowly. Kushina was already watching him with worried eyes, brushing strands of hair off his forehead. "Good morning, Kaito," she whispered softly. Minato approached from behind, kneeling beside the futon. "How are you feeling?" he asked, tone gentle. Kaito rubbed his eyes as if still shaken. "Better, but it still feels real," he murmured. Minato exchanged a heavy look with Kushina. Something silent passed between them, fear, and a truth they could no longer ignore. The three of them sat together, neither parent willing to leave Kaito's side. Kushina prepared breakfast more slowly than usual, constantly glancing toward him, while Minato kept a protective hand on Kaito's shoulder whenever he walked near. Kaito felt a pang of guilt, but steeled himself. This was necessary. They needed to listen. After breakfast, Minato gently said, "Kushina, could you take Kaito to the living room? I'll clean up today." Kaito immediately caught the subtle shift. This meant Minato wanted to think. Alone. Kushina nodded and led Kaito out, chatting softly about making his favorite rice balls for lunch. Once they were gone, Minato's expression hardened, calm, but deeply troubled. He set the dishes down, leaned against the counter, and closed his eyes. Kaito didn't just dream that. It was too specific, too structured, too real. He remembered each detail Kaito described. Masked man. Attack during childbirth. Ninetales extraction. Hostage situation. Their deaths sealing the beast. But one thing disturbed him above everything else. Kaito knew Kushina contained the 9 tails. That information was classified beyond classified. Even ANBU didn't know. Kaito was too young. They never discussed it openly. And Kaito had shown no signs of eavesdropping or snooping. This wasn't coincidence. It wasn't imagination. It wasn't a normal bad dream. Is it his Uzumaki bloodline? A prophetic ability? A subconscious sensing of chakra? Or something else entirely? Minato's eyes narrowed. He needed answers. And Kaito, no matter how innocent he seemed, had seen something. Something Minato could not ignore. Meanwhile, in the living room, Kushina pulled Kaito into her lap, hugging him tightly. Her voice shook. "Kaito, you can tell mommy anything, you know. Anything." Kaito leaned into her, giving just enough hesitation to sell the emotion. I don't know. When I dreamt it, it felt like I was there. Kushina froze. Like, I felt the masked man. His chakra was cold, and angry, and twisted. A shiver crawled up Kushina's spine. Twisted? Kaito nodded, and it felt like he knew us. Like he hated Dad for something. Kushina's heartbeat spiked. This isn't a normal dream. She had lived long enough alongside Jinchuriki instincts, lived through a war, fought monsters in human form. She knew when something was wrong. Kaito, her voice was soft, almost pleading. Did you see anything else? Kaito lowered his head, voice trembling. I saw the 9 tails. Coming out of you. Kushina's breath caught in her throat. Her hand instinctively went to her abdomen, protecting her unborn son. This child of mine. He saw something even I fear. That afternoon, Minato requested both Kushina and Kaito join him in his study. He looked unusually serious, Hokage-level serious. Kaito, Minato said, kneeling in front of him, your dream. I need you to tell me everything. Every detail. Don't leave anything out. Kaito swallowed hard, then recounted everything again. His voice quiet and careful, adding realistic pauses, flinches, and moments of fear. But he also subtly emphasized the greatest threat. The masked man. He had a space-time jutsu. He could disappear and reappear. And nothing could touch him. Minato's eyes widened. His mind was racing. Kushina whispered, space-time jutsu? Minato, there's no way. Unless, Minato murmured, he's someone we already know. Kaito caught the flicker in Minato's eyes. The theory had begun. The seed was planted. And now Minato would watch everything more closely. After Kaito finished, Minato placed both hands on his son's shoulders. Kaito, thank you. This wasn't just a dream. I believe you. And I promise, on my life, I won't let anything happen to this family. Kaito's heart clenched. Minato rarely swore oaths. When he did, he meant them. Kushina joined the embrace, her voice trembling with love and fear. We'll protect you, and Naruto. No matter what. Kaito hugged them both tightly, whispering, I don't want to lose you. And this time, the emotion wasn't acting. It was real. When Kaito finally slept, truly slept, Minato stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes dark with thought. Kushina approached quietly. Minato, what are you thinking? Minato exhaled slowly. I'm going to triple the guard detail around you. Kakashi will monitor from a distance. I'll personally create a barrier seal around the delivery room. His voice tightened. And I'll start investigating every unusual chakra signature, every anomaly in the village. He paused. Kushina. Our son didn't just see a dream. He saw a threat. Kushina nodded, eyes glistening. And we'll face it together, she whispered. Minato's gaze moved to Kaito, sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. His voice lowered. And whoever this masked man is, Minato whispered, eyes narrowing. I swear on the Hokage name, he won't touch our family. But he did not know. He had awakened a chain of events far larger than he ever intended. As the night deepened, a figure far outside Konoha watched from a distant cliff, a single Sharingan glowing through his mask. Interesting. Obito murmured darkly. Konoha is becoming more cautious. Did someone warn them? His eye narrowed. No matter. The night of the birth will be mine. And that wraps up today's episode of What If Naruto Had a Big Brother. Kaito's journey is only getting more intense, and the future of the ninja world is changing with every step he takes. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see what happens next, make sure to hit that like button, share the video with other Naruto fans, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Drop your theories in the comments. I love reading them. See you in the next episode.